The views presented in this program are not meant to express the specific views of the Lafayette Bible Fellowship. You are listening to the Vigilance Radio Network.
All right, welcome back to the Culture Insanity Podcast, episode number 7 and the final of the year of 2017.
That's right.
So coming up on a big milestone on 10 episodes. I think we'll do something special for our number 10, but final podcast of the year. So it's pretty exciting. Excited to keep going. So I guess let's just hop right into it. So we'll start out big. We'll start out with a big fish in terms of topics. So obviously it's like the hottest thing right now, but Star Wars: The Last Jedi, super popular movie right now, but also super popular for being, I guess, pretty polarizing between I think mostly fans, because I think it's pretty much seen by all critics as like a good solid movie, like 90% or something on Rotten Tomatoes for those people who live and die by the Rotten Tomatoes. I don't. But yeah, Star Wars: The Last Jedi. So first, I guess, likes and dislikes. I liked the movie personally, before we start like breaking it down, but I thought it was really awesome. There's things I didn't like about it, things that were downright cringeworthy about Star Wars: The Last Jedi, but overall really enjoyed the movie. So automatically from the get-go, I'm at odds with all the haters out there about it. But just in general, what did you think?
Well, is this going to be a spoiler-filled conversation, I would assume?
Our podcast, by very nature, is a spoiler-filled podcast. But I mean, right. If you haven't seen Star Wars yet, shame on you for one, because even people who don't really like it have probably seen it. But so it's a spoiler-filled podcast.
Yeah, that's the question again, because I'm working on our Facebook
no problem.
page.
So just in general, what are your thoughts on Star Wars? Did you hate it? Were you completely bothered by it? Did you enjoy it? I think I remember you liking The Force Awakens for what it was. Like, you enjoyed the movie.
I liked it for what it was. That's a good
disclaimer for you.
I mean, you always have to think of things that way when you're dealing with anything that is fiction, right?
Yep.
You got to take it as it was meant to be and then judge. Mm-hmm. Which is interesting, because I just got done watching the James Franco movie about The Room. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, The Room. Yeah.
And that's like
the disaster artist.
Yeah, the opposite, where that film is terrible. And people like it because it was the opposite of what he meant it to be. Anyway, Star Wars, sorry.
So taking a movie for what it was and what it is meant to be, being careful not to slap words, being flippant with your wordage, right? So saying something is good because good means something. Saying something is beautiful because beautiful means something to us. And so I think that's what Josh means by taking it for what it is. And so he liked it. What it was.
I liked it for what it was. So, for me, it was a good movie. Was it a good Star Wars movie? I would say that it was a good Star Wars movie. But, was it a good Star Wars movie in terms of, did it follow the status quo of Star Wars? To that, I would say no.
Okay. So I guess let's see, because I've had a lot of conversations about this,
and
movie.
I don't think that makes it bad.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure out where I want to start with the breaking down of this movie, because I've had a lot of conversations about it, and I'm just trying to reformulate my thoughts on it. But yeah. So overall, I liked it. I think that there were Okay, so I'll say what I was really reserved about going into it. I guess
Yeah.
that's a good starting point, and from there I'm sure it'll naturally jump.
Yeah, do
but,
that.
So what I was really reserved going into this movie was getting another movie that's presenting to you the concept of there's no such thing as good or bad. You know, that's completely subjective and all that nonsense. You know, kind of like I think we cited it before, but like I think Maleficent really was a like a point in time,
Right.
you know, for that
Another Disney movie.
Yeah, another Disney movie. There's no such thing as good or bad, and you know, whatever. So I was really skeptical about that going in. I didn't want to get that. With that said, I think that I don't know if I'm like imposing my own wants for the movie onto it, because while I saw it walk up to that line, I felt like by the end of the movie they backed off of it, but I know felt like they really like that is what's out there now. So
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I thought this is what I thought. So if you've seen the movie, you're with us. But so obviously Kylo is presenting that choice to Rey, right?
Right.
That it's bigger than good or bad, and we can be so much more, and whatever that means. We don't really know what Kylo's idea of so much more is at this point. You know, like what does Kylo Ren want in the world?
Right.
You know. So he presented this option to her. She walked up to that line. I felt explored it. You know, there's that scene where Luke says she went full bad or full dark side and blah blah blah, and that really scared him or whatever.
Right.
So she like saw that, but then she also like, you know, explored the good and the light side or whatever. And so I felt by the end of and then she like rejected that from Kylo Ren. I felt like in their fight or whatever, after Snoke was easily disposed of.
Right. I liked the whole lightsaber turning thing, and then like the that double narrative that was taking place.
It was BA.
Yeah, I thought it was cool.
It was BA. But so I felt that
Other than the ease of it.
yeah, I felt that was presented to Rey, but by the end of the movie, they are clearly going in different directions. And so I felt like in her rejecting his and going to what seems like she's going to the light side or whatever, it pushes him to the dark side or whatever. That's how I interpreted what happened, but you, I know, interpreted it differently.
Yeah, I don't interpret it that way. I interpret her...
And that's why I say, like, I don't know if I'm imposing my own wants on the movie, and so
Right.
that's why I interpreted it, and that's possible. I'm not perfect, but...
I think my gain is a little high on here. I keep redlining. But I'm interpreting... Yeah, I think that's better. I interpret her movement not as a movement toward the light side. I interpret her movement as a rejection of his extremism.
Okay. So what is she moving toward? Is she moving in any direction, then?
No.
Not to you?
No.
No?
She's just choosing to... she is just choosing to not choose. Like, everybody wants her to choose. But she is saying, I don't have to choose that. And she basically takes Kylo's advice. It's just that Kylo, he's power hungry. So he says, you don't have to choose anything. Choose what you want. But in reality, Kylo wants, you know, whatever's going to give him power. Whereas Rey, she's not power hungry. So she doesn't go in that direction. But I don't feel like she's choosing to go to the light side. I think she's choosing to say that we can choose to make whatever we want to of it. We can tap into the dark and we can tap into the light, and we don't have to be extreme about it.
I just don't, like... Yeah, did she ever tap into the dark? I mean, like, she...
Well, she went full dark. That's what Luke said.
Yeah, but what did that even mean?
It entailed her giving herself to the darkness. She went down to the pit, just like in Empire Strikes Back.
Right.
See, there were a lot of allusions to Empire Strikes Back, but it didn't really... Yeah, it didn't maintain the status quo. But just like in Empire Strikes Back, she is impetuous, and so she decides to go down into the dark, and she goes full dark, just like Luke goes into the cave. So when she goes down, or whatever it was, I think like a bog or something. I think it was a cave.
It was like a tree or something. Like, didn't he like or something? Yeah,
It was-
whatever.
I
He
think it was
goes
a
in,
cave.
and then Darth
Anyway.
Vader walks in.
Yeah. So just like Luke goes into the cave, she goes into this hole in the ground. And so she goes into this darkness, and she
The island's butthole.
and she ends up what she's searching for is herself, right? She's
Right.
trying to find herself, and she believes that herself is defined by her existence is defined by her parents, and that is what it is. Her whole existence has been defined by who are my parents, right? And that's what we see in The Force Awakens. It's a core aspect of her. So she goes to find herself, and what does the dark side of the Force reveal to her?
100 different versions of herself.
Yeah, all leading up to herself.
Okay.
So that's her going to the dark side. Her going to the dark side is her saying that the definition of who I am is me.
And maybe that's why, because that was always that particular scene. I felt like is one of the most undertalked scenes in the movie, but is also one of the weirdest. And like we've never seen anything like that in Star Wars.
It's probably just not understood.
Yeah, probably. I mean,
so you take that scene and you compare it to Empire Strikes Back, where Luke goes and he fights Darth Vader, and what happens when he fights Darth Vader? He cuts off Darth Vader's head, and it's his head, right? Mm-hmm. So the idea is that Luke could go to the dark side, and that he could become his father, although he finds out that that's his father, but that he could go to the dark side, that he could become that, and so he pushes away from that. So that's the difference. So Rey, she goes and she embraces what she learns from the dark side. Luke rejects what he learns from the dark side.
okay, I could see that now. Yeah, I felt like it was like in any article you ever read that's like in all the breaking down of it, that's like one of the most it's weird. It's like one of the most under-talked scenes in the movie. Maybe that is. Maybe it's because it's nothing. Maybe that's because, yeah, like you said, people don't understand it or something. But
Right.
Yeah, I thought it was, yeah, I guess, like I said, it was just me wanting something that wasn't there, I guess.
Well, I mean, people are going to interpret that how they want to, but I do think... So, like, what I'm saying is maybe my interpretation is wrong, but I mean, it's clearly what the message of the movie is.
Mm-hmm.
She needed to find herself. She knew all along. Snoke knew it. So did Kylo, right? Mm-hmm. They knew. These are dark side people. They knew that she is nothing. That it's just her, and that she needs to focus on her.
You think that narrative is gonna? You think that's legit? A lot of people say, "Oh, that's BS" or whatever. That's not actually true.
I don't know.
Yeah.
For storytelling purposes, I think it's possible, but for for storytelling purposes, I think it's possible that it's a inverted red herring or something, like trying to throw you off the tracks. But I don't think that that's the case, because what they're setting up in the grand narrative is that it's no longer about the Skywalkers, right? I mean, that's the whole thing at the end.
Yeah, with the kid.
Right, with the
Yeah,
kid.
everyone has access to it. It's no longer a
And
Jedi
that's
or
another
not
thing
Jedi,
where it like blocks the status
chosen
quo.
one or not chosen
Right.
one. They're
you don't
getting
need
away
to be
from that.
special. You just need to find yourself. Pick whatever path you need to find yourself. Dark side, light side, it doesn't matter. Just don't be extreme.
Secular humanism.
So Kylo Ren, he became extreme in that. And that's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, overall, I liked it, though, for what it was, like you said. I don't understand the people. I just don't understand all the negative. What was that article you posted today? It was like, what was the long and short of it? It's people...
It was that it's people's negative hype isn't real, basically.
Yeah, it was, and it kept saying, like, just because the negative hype is loud does not make it valid.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of, like, negative critique of the movie, and it's... Yeah, and those people are just being allowed. They're not necessarily... It's not necessarily founded in anything that matters or anything that carries weight or anything like that.
Right.
And so it's a ridiculous statement to make that the movie sucks or the movie's not doing good or the movie is not whatever.
On our own poll,
We have a poll?
Oh, yeah, we had a poll last week.
What's our poll?
The question was... New show on Friday the 29th. We'll be discussing The Last Jedi. We're wondering what you all think. Vote in the poll below and tune in next Friday.
So what were the options?
The options were Long Live the New Order with Kylo Ren going like this. I don't know.
It's probably taken from SNL.
Yeah, probably. It's like Kylo approves.
Okay.
And then one that says Return the Old Republic with Luke going, no!
What
Kylo approves with 67%.
Yeah, I have a weird thought on, like, I think we talked about it before, but we were talking about like Star Trek like fanboys and stuff that they just like hold these things like it's the Bible and you can't mess with them, and then they have this attitude of nothing will ever be as good as the originals and stuff, and that's a lot of the like commentary I hear, and it really bugs me because it's like they don't want it to be good or better, you know, like, oh, it's never good, you're never gonna have that, you know, only I had that in my time, and I hate that. It's like, to me, it reminds me of like a legacy thing, you know, like, don't you want it to be better for your kids? Like, don't you want them to like it like you loved it when you were a kid, you know?
Well, and for me,
I really hate that mentality and attitude about it.
For me, a huge critique of mine for Star Wars. So, just full disclosure, I'm not a Star Wars person.
It's true.
I am
Star Trek all the way.
I'm pretty versed in most everything when it comes to pop culture, but just because I'm versed in it doesn't mean that I like it. So, you know, it's fine for what it is.
As I said, it's a disclaimer earlier.
But
for what it is.
But with that said, my critique
Teletubbies is fine for what it is, and what it's
right?
trying to be.
You know, for children, and you know, it has its place.
Simple-minded people.
But what I was gonna say is that the Star Wars series, what I always took issue with the Star Wars series, is its excessive borrowing from Eastern mysticism and its lack of commitment to Eastern thought. So that's always been a huge issue for me. Mm-hmm. Like, I can't stand the fact, for instance, that Mace Windu went just full-blown dark side, and it's never addressed when he's fighting.
Well, even
is it Darth Sidious he's fighting?
Yeah, even Luke in Return of the Jedi, I guess it is. Like, when Luke's fighting Darth Vader, he's not fighting Darth Vader in a, you know, composed sort of way. He's like, not Obi-Wan. He is like beating him down with his lightsaber, you know? Like, that's not what Jedi, as you just told me, is supposed to be like. Right. So there's always been those inconsistencies within itself.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and so to me, that's part of the issue. I think Mark Hamill kind of addressed that in his thought process. He was saying, like, where this movie, The Last Jedi, has gone, this isn't how everything was. And my response to that is absolutely correct. And that's one of the reasons why I thought that Star Wars was kind of weak in that sense, because it wasn't a true allegory for what it was claiming to be. That said, because of that, it was, you know, somewhat palpable, because it borrowed from the Christian idea while using Eastern mysticism as its core principle. It borrowed from the Christian idea of a supreme good and a supreme evil. What you have to understand about Eastern thought, those of you who don't know this, is that there's no such thing as good and evil. Good and evil are, you know,
made up words.
Yeah,
like the character says. Yeah. Good, bad, made up words.
Made up words. And so this concept of Jedi and Sith, it's, you know, it never really made sense. And so now what they're doing is, now that they've awakened the Force again, you know, with J.J. Abrams, I feel like what they have done is really thrown out the status quo of Star Wars with this movie. I mean, Leia now is more than Force sensitive. She's got, like, Force powers.
And that's where that was the most cringeworthy scene in the whole movie. Hated
You heard
it.
about AMC, like, having to post they had to post what did they do? They posted something saying that at the exact scene where Ryan Johnson decides to...
Dude, AMC, the movie theater chain.
Yeah.
Yeah, Yeah, go ahead. Finish.
Yeah, they like that. Basically, the sound is okay. There's nothing wrong with the sound in the movie because Rian Johnson makes a directorial decision,
like an artistic decision,
and it was artistic, and it made sense. It made sense, right? So there's no sound in space,
but also inconsistent.
Right. Again, inconsistent. Right, because you can hear the laser blasts and whatever,
TIE fighters and stuff.
But in actuality, there's no sound in space because sound requires air essentially to travel.
So when that thing hyperspeeds or whatever,
right,
through that other ship, like people are getting all pissed off. Where's the sound? And then getting all up in arms.
Right.
No, that's just like an artistic choice that the director made.
Right. So anyway, but yeah, so Leia like pulls herself back into the ship using her force power, and it's like those people who know.
Please, no. No.
Again, I'm not a huge Star Wars fan, but I'm very up. I'm very aware, right? So those people who know about the now non-canonical extended universe of Star Wars, and the books and all that sort of stuff, they know that
TV shows.
Leia is more than force sensitive, and that her children are like they grow up to be Jedis and so on and so forth, like Kylo Ren did, right? But in any case, where did that come from? But, of course, that's okay, because guess what? Everybody can use the Force now. It's not just the chosen one. It's not just the Jedi. Even a little boy can randomly use the Force to pull a broom to him while he's sweeping the floor. Why? Because he's at one with himself.
Yeah. I missed that the first time. Like,
really?
I didn't even see it, because, like, if you're not looking at that part of the screen, you probably wouldn't have seen it, because it's kind of, like, in the dark and shadow, and you kind of, it's really subtle.
I saw it, and then I had to confirm it.
Did that just happen?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, so
I went back and looked it up.
Which is funny because like if I didn't see that and like what we're talking about, like it like really solidifies that point, of everyone having it and all that stuff. But yeah, no.
It always should have been that though, and that's sort of my point. Is it's descending into Eastern thought, but for people who aren't aware, of course it was going to descend into Eastern thought.
Here's a question. Here's the question I just thought of.
Sure.
With this. What this whole new like force, everyone has it, can have it,
right?
Blah, blah, blah. Where does midichlorians play into
right? Not even addressed. Well, midichlorians is just the science of that universe, right?
Yeah.
It's just them explaining how something happened as opposed to, or explaining what happened as opposed to.
For some reason, there's just this
why
meme.
of it.
I've never seen this meme, but it should be a meme. Like, but what about the midichlorians or something?
Yeah, totally.
Because everyone hated that.
Totally.
And it should be like that Jackie Chan meme or whatever picture,
Yeah, they gotta find.
But what about the midichlorians?
What image could you use for that?
I don't know. Yeah.
There's got to be a meme generator somewhere that we can make that meme.
Yeah, post it on our Facebook. Yeah, John Parker, a member here at Aletheia, he shared with me a picture. He probably pulled it from Reddit, knowing John, and Reddit is the source for all good things and good material and good reading and good research and
sure. Reddit is the Wikipedia of the internet.
I know we were trying to go with it, but I don't think we got there.
Not well executed.
But he shared with me this other meme, and it's like a picture of Luke, Obi-Wan, and Yoda, and like the Luke portion of the picture, so it's like a 3-tiered picture, says, The Last Jedi is a betrayal of Luke's character. A real Jedi would stand and fight after making a mistake that unleashed the dark side on the unsuspecting galaxy. It's like, okay, well, that's true based on what we're told about like Jedi. But then there's a picture under it. It's old Obi-Wan. Alec Guinness. Actually, when my apprentice turned into a Darth Vader, I hid on a desert planet under a fake name and hoped no one would notice me. So it's like, okay, that's true. There is that thing. And under that is Yoda. Yeah, I completely missed that Palpatine was a Sith Lord, so I ran away and lived in a swamp. It's kind of what Jedi do, is what it says. And so I told John, because he asked me thoughts or whatever. And I knew we were going to be talking about this, but I told him it's the ever problem with Star Wars, both inconsistent and consistent. Inconsistent with how Jedis are presented and what we're told about what they're supposed to be all about, but consistent with what the saga and the story has given us. And fanboys, mainly fanboys, wrestle with understanding that because of Star Wars always having this fact value fractured mythology or whatever behind it, like what they say and what they do never really align, and what this person is supposed to be is never really portraying, even in the original trilogy, like we were talking about with Luke and stuff. So I think it's a silly it's a silly critique if you like Star Wars, because that's what
Right.
you've been following your whole life.
Right,
You know,
right.
so I don't understand it.
For me, it was where it needed to go.
Yeah.
And now you have so much more capability of storytelling, because now you can talk about dissension within the Jedi Order without having to call them secretly Sith. Maybe they're just bad Jedi. You know what I'm saying? You know, and the Force, like, yeah, the Force is, it no longer has the intent that it did before. Now, of course, again, what about the midi-chlorians where the Force, like, manifests itself? But, you know, you're stealing from Christian elements there. Come on. The Immaculate Conception of Anakin Skywalker?
Yep.
Tell me that is not stolen from
midi-chlorians, yep.
Christianity.
Yeah. Oh, what was I going to just say? I don't remember. But yeah, it's... Yeah, I'm excited still about it, but yeah, there's a lot of... It's a polarizing movie for whatever reason. It's going to be like maybe the highest grossing movie of all time still, which is crazy, but...
Yeah, well, that's really interesting, because the critics are trying to say, oh, it's done so terribly, but
Yeah, that was part
no,
of
it
that
hasn't.
that was part of what your article was talking about. Like, it's on track to go to like $1.3 billion. Like,
Right.
what are you talking about?
Right.
What are you talking about?
Right.
So, yeah. Silly. I guess we can move on from Star Wars now. Let's see. What else is happening in the world of pop culture?
So just, you know, let me say that as a Christian, like, I believe that everything should be very critically watched. And I think that for my kids, so my kids have not seen Star Wars ever, but my daughter wanted to be Rey for Halloween.
Really?
Yeah.
Weird.
Sophia wanted to be Rey, and I told her, no, you can't be Rey until you watch Star Wars, because I don't believe in that. I don't believe in repping something you don't know. That said, I think that it's a cultural phenomenon, and it's important for us to have a commanding knowledge of it, and we can even celebrate some aspects of it knowing that it is a cultural phenomenon. You know, it's meat sacrificed to idols.
Yeah. Yeah, someone was asking me if Oliver liked Star Wars the other day, and I'm like, I guess you could say that. Like, he loves Chewbacca because Chewbacca is like a big furry animal that makes silly sounds.
And that
but
terrible song.
yeah, Supernova Chili. And if anyone's interested, Supernova Chili, and the song's called Chewbacca. But yeah, like, Oliver likes Star Wars, but he's never seen the movie, and I don't plan on showing him the movie till he can, like, ask questions about the movie and stuff.
Right, and that's what I was going to say. I think that we're going to have to work extra hard now, because before there were inconsistencies that you could really point out, and, you know, it wasn't so bad in terms of it being inconsistent, in terms of it... let's see. How do I make this really, really simple so people can understand why I think it's bad? Okay. This is why I don't like Eastern mysticism. Human beings are significant. Okay? Star Wars teaches that human beings are significant, or at least it used to. So, human beings are significant.
Now human beings just are in Star Wars.
That's right. Yep. Human beings are significant because they are created in the image of God. That's why I believe human beings are significant. I think every human being wants to be seen as significant, and so on and so forth. Eastern mysticism teaches that everything is the same, that there is no difference between anything else. So if everything is the same, then everything is everything, and if everything is everything, then the value of everything is nothing. So therefore, human beings are nothing. And that is why things that are based on Eastern mysticism or Eastern beliefs put no value in things like that. That's why, for instance, although it's not a one-for-one example, but that's why a pantheistic belief like Hinduism creates a society like in India, where to this day you have women walking around with water on their heads, yet they have the ability to irrigate their cities. Why do they do that? Because they don't have value except within a caste system. So that's where Star Wars is going. You may think that I'm being like way over the top, and perhaps I am, because it's just a story. But when you tell children those stories and you constantly reinforce them, then they grow up to become people who, you know, have those columns that they build their houses around. And I'm not about to do that with my kids without high critique. So I think where Star Wars is going makes sense. I thought it was a good movie. Probably one of the best Star Wars movies, honestly.
Number 4 for me.
You like Force Awakens?
No, it
I'm
ranks
sorry.
number 4. I do like Force Awakens the best.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Anyways.
it's, I think it's dangerous to our understanding. I think it's dangerous for our children to be immersed in something that is so culturally huge. It is essentially a social narrative, right? Mm-hmm. It's like more people, maybe I'm wrong here. As a Christian, more people know who Anakin Skywalker is in America than Jesus Christ in any meaningful way.
Sure.
And that's a problem. That's a problem to me.
It's pretty disgusting
Yeah.
to think about. Yeah. No, just this week, because Oliver's, he's allowed to watch occasional, shows or movies now.
Right.
Nothing regular, but we decided to watch The Jungle Book with him. We were going to watch the cartoon version with him, but
Right.
it's not available on Netflix, which sucks, but the live action one was, and
Right.
we were thinking oh yeah, I remember Jungle Book being pretty okay, I think, pretty basic and easy to digest and easy to talk about. And then I remember there was that elephants created everything bit in Jungle Book, which was
Right.
really awkward. And so as the movie's playing, we're like, Oliver, is that true? Did elephants create everything? And of course, he doesn't know what to say or whatever, and so you have to talk him through it. But it's true, critique everything, even the Jungle Book.
Yep.
There's always something out there that's.
God forbid that you watch Maleficent.
Oh yeah, that's a bad one. We're gonna keep citing that movie. Yeah.
It's yeah.
Like I said, it was like a, what do you call that? A cornerstone.
Yeah.
Cornerstone?
Yeah. A cornerstone.
And
would
the
work.
change of.
Yeah, it's like a watershed moment. It's a paradigm shift.
A paradigm shift. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, a paradigm shift.
Yeah, Maleficent.
All right, moving on to, it's actually a good segue. You're talking about people being made in the image of God, and so that's why people have value and stuff. So you'll see why it's a good segue.
Yeah.
So there's this.
You may think I know, but I have no idea what Adam's about to say.
Yeah, or at least in order. He has no idea what I'm going to say.
Right.
But, so there is the Matt Damon thing.
Okay.
Not to. Maybe, hopefully, this is the last time on this subject, and
It's
not going to be
cultural narrative now.
It's not going to be long, but so Matt Damon recently. Maybe I should have had a news clip for this. I don't know if it was an actual whatever news thing, but Matt Damon said suggested that there's a sexual violence spectrum, and he specifically said surely slapping someone on the butt, it shouldn't be treated the same as molesting a child or molesting
Right.
whatever, raping someone or
Right.
whatever. And so Matt Damon had a lot of backlash, obviously. In a time like this, of course, he's going to have a lot of backlash
Right.
just for speaking, for
Right.
one. That's a big thing, by the way, is it's men's turn to shut up.
Right.
They're not supposed to talk at all.
And if you don't say something,
You're
then
also guilty.
Also guilty.
So you're
Yeah.
damned if you do and damned if you don't.
right.
Currently, and I had this conversation with my brother the other day. By the way, I forget the context of it, but he cited this, and it's I was like, so to carry your logic out, yeah, people that don't speak up on the sexual assault issue are guilty, but people that do are guilty for not being sensitive enough or for
Right.
even speaking. But yeah. Anyways, back to the point. He suggested that there's a sexual violence spectrum, and the question is there such a thing? And of course, he had a lot of backlash from celebrities and stuff that were told him that he's out of line, basically. So
Right.
I'll just share my thoughts
Yeah.
on it, and then you can just bounce back with what you think. But so going back to the value thing, I think that when it comes down to it, on this whole thing, what he's suggesting is that we have to ask ourselves the question of, is what I'm doing, whether it be a slap on the butt or something more heinous, is what I'm doing productive to a healthy relationship with that person? And that's a question that should be the filter for everything, How is slapping someone on the butt productive toward a healthy relationship? Is there ever a time when it's productive toward a healthy relationship?
Many sports figures would tell you yes.
And I have a sports background, and I personally have no problem with that. I also don't have a history of trauma with anything like that. So whatever, it's amping someone up or whatever you called it the other day. I forget what you called it.
Yeah.
But so is it is that productive toward a healthy relationship? Is raping someone productive toward a healthy relationship? Obviously, I think the answer is no to that. I don't think, however, that there should be a universal consequence, like maybe some people are suggesting, for varying degrees of these things. And so, for example, when you punch someone in a bar fight, doesn't get the same consequence as murdering someone or stabbing someone even, you know? Mm-hmm. When you steal a pack of gum, that doesn't generally get the same consequence as robbing a bank. And so there should still be degrees of consequence. I'm not saying there shouldn't be consequence and whatever and accountability, but yeah, I don't think there should be a universal like consequence for that. And then I said here, yeah, the problem comes back to what you were just talking about, that we don't respect each other as beings who are created in the image of God, and until people have that universal understanding, which probably will never happen in our lifetime, here on Earth at least, that there's always going to be that fractured whatever, like things, you know, people are always going to have these fractured worldviews because people aren't coming at it from the same,
right,
from the angle they should be. Just
right. Yeah,
to put it plainly.
I think that the issue here is sin.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking about sin a lot too in reference to this topic, but go ahead.
Well, people don't know how to process the evil that is within a person. They think to themselves, especially when I think of like Matt Lauer, for instance, mm-hmm. It's like you have women who are on both sides of the spectrum, if you will, who like work side by side with him, carry on meaningful friendships, know him to be a certain way, and then also are trying to recognize, they're trying to reconcile the fact that he's also this person. Mm-hmm. Well, when people are who they are momentarily from time to time, because everything is time plus chance, and you're just sort of what you are in that moment, mm-hmm. and that's your thought process, then of course it's like, how do I reconcile that?
Yeah, it's a confusing place.
Because you were this, and now you're this. Mm-hmm. But Scripture gives us a different way of looking at it. It basically says that everybody has a secret life, that all people were created in the image of God and therefore have the potential to act a certain way, and then that all people are guilty of sin, and because of that, they don't act the way that they're supposed to. So because of that, they live two lives, and your entire being, your entire life is spent wrestling with doing what you want to do, mm-hmm. but then giving into your sinful nature to do the other thing. Now, because we have this understanding that people are essentially broken, we can say that this person is a person made in the image of God, that we should treat them with a certain level of respect and so on and so forth. But if a person doesn't understand that someone's broken, but just views their entire value as evil, mm-hmm. What do you expect? It's confusing.
Yeah, it was just a brief thought that I had when I was like typing earlier, but like I was thinking how, like thinking about like sin as an entity,
yeah,
and how it was kind of scaring me thinking about it, but like how it really has a foothold in that world,
Yeah.
And it was really kind of, I don't
Alarming.
know how. Yeah, I guess the only word that I could think of to describe it is like, it was really kind of scary to me to think about that, like sin is very alive and thriving in that environment, and it's, I don't know.
Yeah, it's got a foothold.
Foothold, yeah.
With that said, I don't. Once you start viewing things that way, I don't think that it's responsible to view it as either way that's being presented. If that makes sense. So it's like, is it a spectrum, or is it a set of individual components? The idea of the spectrum is, of course, that these things are like a ladder almost. That it it always ends with these negative things, and it starts down here. So psychologically, and this is like thinking of like Mindhunter on Netflix and talking about like profiling. So psychologically, if you start with this action down here, like you like wearing your mom's clothes or something, then you're going to end up over here like killing women and dressing up as your mom or whatever. I don't think we can do that. I think that we can do that to a degree, but I don't think that we can do that as a whole. And here's why. Because people are broken. So I think that the way that it should be looked at, this is kind of weird, but I think the way that it should be looked at as, or is like a game of connect the dots. Okay. So, like, connect the dots has, like, numbers, right? And so you follow those numbers. So what if there were two sets of instructions? Okay. So there's two sets of instructions. One is bad, one is good. So somebody gives you the bad instructions, and so you follow that, and you end up with a bad drawing, right? But one is good, and you end up with the drawing that was intended. And then you have people who can't follow instructions at all, and they just kind of draw lines to wherever, right? That's kind of how I view, like, human interaction in general. So you have the good instruction, which I believe is revelation. It's something that comes outside. It's not an instruction that's on the paper. Then you have the bad instruction, which is from people that are trying to get you to secretly draw penises. Like that one other Netflix show.
American Vandal.
Yeah, American Vandal. So they're like, oh yeah, just go to the next line and the next line, and then you end up drawing a penis. And then you get in trouble because you followed those instructions, but you got to see it through. You got to make that image. So that is what I think people are describing as the continuum. They're saying that if you follow these instructions, you get from point A to point B because you hit all these points, and this is what a bunch of different people have done, and so therefore it's a continuum. Well, yeah, that is a continuum because you have bad instructions. But does that mean that all the pieces are therefore necessarily bad? Or that because somebody drew a line from point A to point Z, and the bad instruction said draw a line from point A to point Z, that therefore that person must be bad also and is trying to draw a penis. I think that is really short-sighted.
Yeah, small-minded.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where do you go from there?
I think it's small-minded. I think that it comes from a place of fear. And I get why. But if you're going to come from a place of fear, fear is the path to the dark side, man.
Oh, nice. Full circle.
And that's how we get it. That's how
All right. Moving on. Oh, man. We're at 42 minutes. Let's take a break real quick and do our...
Okay.
We're doing We're doing basically a general 2017 trivia.
Trivia.
No topic off limits, or no category off limits, I mean.
Right.
So, yeah, I guess with that said, let's play some trivia. Sound good?
Yep.
Okay. Someone deleted my sound, but
What? You sure someone deleted your sound?
with that said, let's play our trivia.
Time to play the game.
All right.
Time to play the game.
I always... that second time he says it just gets me every time.
And the laugh is similar to how you laugh sometimes.
Yeah.
It's a dumb laugh, but... All right.
Okay.
I'll ask you first.
Okay.
I'm just going to... It's real basic.
I'm worried about this.
2017.
Let's do it.
What was Envelope Gate?
Envelope Gate?
So you know how like different
Based on Watergate?
yeah, different like things that happen, like bad things happen.
Okay, I'm going to take a guess.
So Deflategate was an...
I'm gonna take a guess. Here it was.
All right.
Steve Harvey.
Oh, that was a good guess, but I think that was 2016.
Ah,
All right, Envelope Gate. So that was
yeah.
wrong. Envelope Gate was when Warren Beatty announced the Best Picture winner at the Oscars back in February. And he announced La La Land because La La Land won a ton of other awards.
Oh, you're right.
But it was Moonlight.
I forgot
And
about
it was
that.
so awkward and live and beautiful.
I forgot about that. And you know what I'm talking about with Steve Harvey, where he announced the wrong winner
Miss
for
America or something like that. Yeah, he did the wrong one.
Okay,
Yeah.
I got one wrong.
All right, go. Man, I need some water.
Okay, this 2-word phrase became a part of the cultural lexicon to describe everything from good faith errors to meme warfare to journalistic networks. 2-word phrase.
2-word phrase. It became popular this year.
Yep.
Became popular in what platforms?
It's part of the cultural lexicon. It's
but
just,
what journalistic? What?
let's see. Everything from good faith errors to meme warfare to journalistic networks.
Good faith errors, meme warfare to journalistic errors.
Networks.
I don't know.
Fake news.
Fake news.
Yep.
It's fake news.
Yep.
Good job. All right. Oh, this is a good one.
Okay.
I worry that I worded it too easy for you. But anyways, here it goes. This new TV partnership finally came face to face, and by the end of the season, they gave us a cringeworthy Luke Leia kiss that had us all saying, "No."
Oh, that's from Game of Thrones.
Okay.
Daenerys and what is his name? Jon Snow.
Yeah. Who are aunt and
Aunt
nephew?
and nephew.
I think.
Yeah,
Aunt and nephew is what it
yeah.
is. And they portrayed it. I think we talked about it on
Yep,
one of our
we did.
podcasts.
We did.
They tried to paint it as a beautiful thing, but
Some people
it was
found
really like,
cringeworthy and some
ah!
right.
They're
right.
related.
Right.
Good job.
Okay, here we go. The Verge called this a boring movie about a boring boy and his boring conflict between wanting to be a boring good kid and not wanting to be murdered by Kevin Spacey. Everyone else called it genius.
Oh, dude, that movie was good. Baby Driver?
Yeah.
A boring kid, boring.
That's what The Verge called it.
That's a harsh label.
Yeah. But good job. You got one.
Baby Driver. Yeah, Edgar Wright.
Yep.
Good movie. Number 3. Oh, this is a good one. This is right up your alley. A painting by this artist sold for around $450 million this year, despite skepticism on whether or not it was even authentic.
Da Vinci?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, sorry. I had to make sure that I was right. And it was a painting of, like, Christ or something like that.
Right.
It was some Saudi prince had it.
Right.
And like, what? Where is this coming from? Where did you get this? How did you get it?
Right.
But now it's, like, highly credited towards Da Vinci. So, yeah, I forget the name. It's, like, Latin or whatever. Something... I think it's just maybe Jesus Savior or something Savior Christo. Or something. I don't
remember.
Anyways, good job.
Okay. Viewers unanimously hated this episode entitled Punk. The episode entitled Punk of this long-awaited sophomore binge watch series.
Sophomore binge watch series. The episode was titled Punk and everyone hated it. Mm-hmm. So it was a show on Netflix.
Possibly.
I don't think Hulu does whole seasons.
They do.
Really? At once?
Maybe not.
No, because the Runaways or whatever,
Runaways
it's
is
like
every
3.
week.
They did the first 3.
Man,
and now
it's bugging me. I'm telling you, I've been watching Runaways and it's bugging me.
So it's a Netflix show, second
It could
season.
be. It could be a Netflix show. I'm not saying that.
Okay. Binge watch, though.
It's a binge watch series.
All right, I'm just going to stick with my gut and say it's a Netflix show.
Okay.
And it's second season. And the episode was titled Punk.
Yeah.
And people hated it.
Yes.
What is the show? Second season. The only thing that keeps replaying in my head is stupid Iron Fist. But that was only one show. So, one season. So, okay, is it Netflix?
I'm not telling you that.
No hints?
I'm not telling you.
I don't know. Punk.
Stranger Things.
People hated that the episode?
Unanimously, yeah. It's like the one where she's not, or maybe you haven't watched it. I don't know.
I haven't finished it yet. But
She's
that's
not
my
in.
bad.
She's not in the area, and she goes and hangs out with like punkers.
Oh, she
in
wore
the
like a ton
80s.
of makeup.
Mm-hmm.
People hated it. I guess
Yeah.
I'll have to watch it for
Yep.
a while. Did you hate it?
It definitely
Was it
didn't-
off?
Yeah, it was off.
Yeah.
She picked up a cool look from it.
This is a bad worded question, and it's hard for you to get based on it. But I'm just gonna ask it because that's what
Okay.
I have typed.
All right, do it.
For a moment, this appeared to be what all the best singers were doing. And I say that maybe like 3 or 4 had them come out. I'll give you a hint even. Netflix is the hint.
Netflix.
Singers. And it was like, it seemed like one came out, and then like really shortly after another one came out, and then after.
I mean, all I can think is it doing specials.
Like comedy specials?
Yeah, like a Michael Bublé Christmas.
No. It's not that, but it is close. But it's like documentaries or biographies
Oh,
or whatever.
okay.
So like Lady Gaga had hers,
yeah.
and Katy Perry, and then it was like, what is this a thing now? Like everyone's got a thing now, and then they're releasing it on Netflix. So, and apparently they're like really good. I guess some of the girls say they're good, but whatever.
I want to watch them.
Yeah, your turn. That was a hard one.
Okay, this show caused full-on tantrums at McDonald's when McDonald's failed to produce enough dipping sauce for its fan base.
I know the sauce you're talking about, but a show made it a thing?
Uh-huh.
Can you read it one more time?
This show caused full-on tantrums at McDonald's when McDonald's failed to produce enough dipping sauce for its fan base. Like full-on tantrums.
Really?
Yeah, like
What's the
full-
sauce? Szechuan sauce, right?
Right, from Mulan.
The only show I can think of is that Superstore or whatever. It's not that.
That's not it, though.
What is it?
Rick and Morty.
Oh, really? Oh, totally. Now
Yeah.
it's... Yep,
Yep.
Rick and Morty. All right. Final question.
Okay.
In an unprecedented move, this movie fired its lead actor, reshot all of its scenes, and released said movie 1 month later.
Oh, come on. I don't remember.
And it's getting Oscar buzz for
all the money in the world.
Bingo. Good job.
Man,
Good job.
that was...
And I can't deny the fact that you like me right now.
Wait, is Christopher Plummer getting Oscar buzz?
A lot.
And I can't
Yeah.
deny the
Because
fact
that's
that you
hilarious.
No, it's crazy. I
That
remember
old
when
man...
He's like 90-something years
He
old.
just comes out of nowhere and steals an Oscar. He's like...
From Kevin Spacey.
Right. He's like, yeah, I'll do it.
It's not like he
Whatever.
stole an Oscar from Danny Rand.
Well, I mean,
Kevin Spacey.
I mean, it's not just the script, right? It's not like anybody who read the script would get an Oscar. It's like
true.
he like came out of nowhere and is like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I think I really have a vision for what that character should be like. Let me try this out. He just delivers.
I can film all of that in 2 days so that you can get it out in 1
1
month.
month. I was like flabbergasted when
Dude,
I
that's
first read
Captain-
that they fired him.
That's Captain Von Trapp. No. Sound of
Start-
Music.
Oh yeah.
Christopher Plummer.
I read some girl from Sound of Music died the other
She
day.
did.
I
The
don't know.
oldest Von Trapp child.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Your final question. You're winning going
Okay.
into this.
Here we go.
I think 2-1.
This record breaker released 27 years after its first telling, and it was shipped to theaters with the inverted code name Pound Foolish.
Is Pound Foolish a hint towards what it is?
It is.
Okay, say the question one more time.
This record breaker released 27 years after its first telling, and it was shipped to theaters with the inverted code name Pound Foolish.
It's a movie then.
Yes, a record breaker.
You said telling, and it's first telling, and that was a weird word, but Pound Foolish. I remember this year there was something big about a movie like that, but I can't remember the movie. It's not Fight Club. I don't know. No. What is it?
27 years after the first time it came out, there was a character
Got me on pins and needles here.
whose name was Pennywise. It was it.
Pound foolish.
Right, it's an inversion. Like penny versus pound. And then foolish versus wise.
That's a
So
good
when they
one.
released it, they
Those
like
tricky devils.
yeah. They always come up with Adam and I used to work in the movie theaters, and they always release just the weirdest.
Yeah, they'd ship the cans of film
Yeah.
or whatever with weird names, and you're like, oh, I see what you did there. Or
Yep.
I didn't see what you did there. You were really throwing someone off with
Right,
that.
right.
Yeah, like Star Wars would be called dog food or something.
Yeah.
You'd be like, what?
Something so nobody would steal it. That's the idea.
Yeah, so. All right, we're at almost an hour. Let's, I'm going to skip that Elisa Schlesinger one,
Cool.
comedian, but let's just end on the Lord thing. Okay?
Yes.
All right. So recently, Lorde canceled her tour in Israel amid all the Jerusalem controversy or whatnot. Obviously, Trump acknowledging Jerusalem and the backlash that would follow. Well, basically, Lorde was under a lot of fire for this, and there was this Palestinian activist that was quoted as saying, today, millions of people stand opposed to the Israeli government's policies of oppression, ethnic cleansing, human rights violations, occupation, and apartheid. As part of this struggle, we believe that an economic, intellectual, and artistic boycott, is an effective way of speaking out against these crimes. Playing in Tel Aviv will be seen as giving support to the policies of the Israeli government, even if you make no comment on the political situation. Such an effort cannot be undone by even the best intention and the best music. So, Lorde apparently thought good and hard of that, as she said in this article, which you can view, but she took a lot in and really thought about it, and she decided to pull out because, you know, I guess she was in line with the Palestinian people or didn't like what she thinks is happening or thinks is being presented
With Israel.
So the question, I guess, for us to talk about is a couple, like, as I put it, should the geopolitics be hindering art? Do artists have a responsibility when it comes to politics? Is Israel different than any other region in turmoil? It's not the only country in the world that has problems and stuff, and where people aren't seeing eye to eye.
Right.
This country, you know, for example,
Right.
is if Lorde performs in America, does that mean she's pro-Trump, for example? So, when does the buck stop?
According to her, it does, apparently.
Mean she's pro-Trump? So
She plays in America, so she must be pro-Trump.
Oh, according to her stand that she
Yep,
made. Okay,
that's
gotcha.
my opinion. You've got my opinion now.
Yeah, so it quickly can become a slippery slope. So I'll just say what I think, and then Josh, you can chime in. But so my thought is, once again, as a person who is choosing to live in that lifestyle and that kind of big career and whatever, it's kind of what you're getting into. You're going to be under a microscope for every little thing you do or don't do, say or don't say, as we said earlier, whether it's right or not or whether it's fair or not. I don't think that an artist should have to worry about what kind of political stance they are taking when they, for example, decide to go on a world tour or something and share their art. They're sharing their art with people so that others can connect and emote with them, or at least that's what they're supposed to be doing in theory. And it seems to be, according to this article, dabbling in the politics of things. And it's a slippery slope, an unnecessary slope, I think, of critique and something out of nothing mentality, and it's only going to lead people to a butting of the heads. And wasn't there a time, or wasn't it a thing that like music, or at least sports, I know, like sports was a neutral ground, you know, like the Olympics, for example. The Olympics were held during World War II, and nations from all over the world came and participated.
In Germany.
Okay? I remember...
And a black man from America.
Yeah, so like there is a history of...
Jesse...
Yeah, I forget his name,
Robbins?
but he was a big... Yeah, he was... Was he a track star, I think?
Yeah.
He's the guy that... Fist Up. That's what made that popular, wasn't it? Before the Black Panthers?
That I don't know. That's an interesting piece of trivia.
Someone fact check us on that. But yeah, like there was a time when this kind of platform was a neutral ground where people didn't have to worry about this kind of thing. And like, I remember, and I don't know how much you know, but like the Miracle game, the hockey game back in 1980 during the Cold War, like that was a big deal because of the Cold War going on. And
that movie had a great soundtrack.
Great soundtrack. It's a great story. And like and afterward, like, so they, beat the Russians, spoiler alert,
Right.
and they go on to beat Sweden or something and then win the gold medal. But like the Russians, these communist nation, like these people, like there was like a deep respect that was given to the American hockey
Right.
team. Like, and so there was this understanding, like there was a neutral ground. And
Right.
so I'm sad that we are apparently departing from this in art too now, where an artist has to worry about this, and it sucks that Lord, chose the way she did, I guess. But yeah, it's an unfortunate time, and I don't think that it's right, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. It's a slippery slope. I think it's one of those things that we, as a church, face on a regular basis. That's a conversation that we've had where people have tried to pull us into things and said, if you're not saying this, then you're not doing your job, and you're supposed to be a church, and so you have to, say things a certain way.
As if they know or have any sort of
Right.
authority.
And the truth of the matter is that is just not true. What are we going to do? Hide under a rock? Mm-hmm. Because that's what you'd have to do. I mean, to be thoroughly consistent. So, and that's really what we're talking about here. To be thoroughly consistent, does Lord use a cell phone that, she's made sure isn't made by people who get paid way
In
less
China
than
or
they
something.
should in China?
Yeah, or India or something like that. Exactly. Does she wear clothes?
Yeah.
Where does the buck stop?
Right.
It's such a slippery slope.
Jesse Owens. Heidi Parker says it's Jesse Owens.
The athlete.
Yes. Thank you, Heidi. Yeah, where does the buck stop? That's what it comes down to. As a church, people have tried to put us into that box.
Yeah, that's
And-
what it is. Everyone wants to box you in. If you're not this,
Right.
then you're this.
Right.
Or because of this, that's all you are.
Right. And it's funny because, it's not binary like that. And especially in something that is expressive. And you're right. In the arts, it didn't used to be that way. We did have people who sort of made that stance when it was forced upon them, like Marlene Dietrich. She just died. But the Nazis, approached her or didn't just die. She just had a birthday. She's been dead. I don't know. But the Nazis approached her. She was a German star. And the Nazis approached her to, come be the star of Germany. And she said no. And then she started speaking out against the Nazis. And it's a really sad story because she wanted to be buried in her hometown in Germany. And they wouldn't, they saw her as a traitor. But yeah. So it's like there are certain places where you should speak out, and then there are certain places where it's like you shouldn't. But is there a responsibility to speak out at all times, to be a public figure in the fullest sense? I don't think so. I think that that's a ridiculous burden for any human being to have to bear.
Yeah.
It's inappropriate, and the art doesn't support it. That's not what they're doing.
Yeah. Then you have the artists, on the other hand, though, that, that is what they're all about.
Right.
I'm thinking of, Bruce Springsteen, repping America, and,
Right.
being super pro-American freedom, and Toby Keith, and remember there was that thing with the Dixie Chicks and stuff.
Right.
But
that's different, right? Being for something is different than being against something.
or being for something is different than being responsible for something. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, like Bruce Springsteen is for America.
Because everyone's for something.
Yeah, is for America.
Yeah,
and
that's
for
what-
the hardworking America. Here's a good example. Just because you were a German in World War II did not make you a Nazi sympathizer. Mm-hmm. But if you but there were plenty of churches, for instance, who literally dropped the German title because a lot of churches came from Germany, and there were a bunch of churches that had German in the title of the church. Lutheran German Church, for instance. They dropped the title of German off of it because it made you a Nazi sympathizer. That's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And people need to, like, I don't know, grow a pair. That's, you know, like, once you start down that slope, you've compromised. The Bible says that you are not to be respecters of men.
Yeah, so now Lord has this precedent now. And so how consistent is she going to be with that?
Right.
Like we say,
Right.
you know, like, does that mean don't come back to your country and perform in your country if you don't like Trump? I don't know what she likes or doesn't like.
Well, and then on top of it, you know, this sort of hating on Israel, this anti-Semitic understanding of things, like, okay, so she's studied that Israel has done atrocious things. Sure. Of course it has. So has the U.S.
Yeah, I was going to say, look at us.
So has Britain, which I think is, or she's New Zealand, right? Well, New Zealand probably hasn't done anything atrocious.
Is she
I think she's from New Zealand. I don't know.
Heidi Parker.
But yeah, Heidi Parker, fact check us. Anyway, all of these countries have done atrocious things. Who are you to say that
You're
in
right.
the name is New Zealand?
Yeah.
Who are you to say that in the New Zealand? Who knows what are they? Switzerland? Like, I don't know what they've done.
I don't know.
But
I don't know.
who are you to say? Who are you to place yourself in the position of, like, moral authority and say that this action was appropriate where this action was not appropriate? Yeah, Israel's done atrocious things. Have you considered what was done to Israel? Like, and I'm not saying you should. I don't think that responsibility belongs on a single person to speak as a moral authority. I don't even think that belongs on pastors. You know, it doesn't belong on politicians. It doesn't belong on pastors. And when anybody has to bear that weight, like the President of the United States, or God forbid, like Winston Churchill in World War II, it's like, that's a terrible weight to bear. It shouldn't just be, like, cast upon that person, and it should only be done with extreme solace and, you know, like an extreme fervor about doing what is morally right. So then my question is, Lord, do you have a moral authority? Lord with an E.
Lord with an E. It's not being
My question
sacrilege
is,
or something here.
Lord with a
Lordy.
With a capital L and lowercase O-R-D and an E attached to it.
Yeah.
Do you have a moral authority that you're answering to where you feel that you are compelled to speak out against the atrocities committed by Israel? Or do you just not like what Israel's done? Because why are you singling them out? That makes you anti-Semitic.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she just got...
I don't think she's trying to be, for the record, but that's what it amounts to.
she got strong-armed. She got scared.
I think so. And she should be scared, because that is a stupid weight to put on somebody. And shame on those people for doing that to that poor 21-year-old.
She's only 21 years old? 1996. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember being 21. Why would you do that to somebody like that? You know, like, why would you put that weight onto them? It's terrible. Like, that's essentially turning her into a moral soldier. You know? Like, you send a soldier out into battle, like, they might have to kill somebody and take another person's life because there's a certain level of morality involved, and they have to be clear about what that morality is. And now you're saying that somehow these actors and actresses and stars and so on and so forth who are on a mission of mercy, essentially. Yeah, it's not a mission of mercy like their Red Cross, but they are a mission of mercy in the sense that they're sharing art.
They're just sharing, yeah.
They're sharing art that they hope will, like, make people feel better, essentially. And you're telling them that they either they pick up a weapon or they're not legitimate.
Yeah, it's pretty jacked up.
Yeah. So this is what I say to that as an artist, and as an artist myself. Be a conscientious objector. Like, say, no, I'm not going to be put into that box. Maybe that's a bad example. I don't know if that's one for one, but
Wait,
I'm spitballing.
if what's a bad example?
Conscientious objector.
Oh. Yeah, no, it's just a crazy time. It's a crazy time of sensitivities and boxing and...
Well, I think about, last year, like, we're centered in Portland. And I think about last year, like, all the stuff that was going on with, like, race rioting, when Trump was elected, like all this stuff. It's like, you know, oh, what's the church going to say? The church isn't going to say anything about that. You know, Jesus, he lived in Roman rule. When do you hear Jesus talking about, you know, the fact that the Romans were constantly slaughtering children because they were invalid, or because they had Down syndrome, or because, you know, or for any number of reasons, you know? When are you going to talk about the fact that they were conquering nations and raping people as a matter of their military practice? When are you going to talk about the fact that the Roman tax collectors were encouraged to cheat people? That stuff isn't talked about by Jesus. Why? Because what's important is where we're headed, not where we are. And so I'm not going to be put into a box that this is what I need to talk about, even if it is going on around me. I mean, I got respect for people who do and who bear that weight, like MLK. But come on. It's ridiculous. That's where I'm at.
No, I mean that's a good point. I think we should wrap up though.
All right.
We're over an hour. So if you're interested in the topics that we were talking about, go see Star Wars for one.
Right.
And you can read what we were talking about on our website, cultureinsanity.wordpress.com, or you can check us out on Facebook and Twitter at Culture Insanity. If you have something that you're interested in us talking about, then you can submit that to us on one of those platforms. And if you're interested in exploring your faith or completely new to it and to Christ or the Bible, you can check out the help tab on thevigilance.blog. And Josh is pointing at me.
Yeah, I just want to throw out there, be prepared. Next show, which is next year, we're going to have information for a new, VRN show / ministry or whatever, talking about doctrine called Cross-Examination. So we'll get you more information about that, but it's going to be live.
Fourth Sunday of the month?
Fourth Sunday of the month. It'll be on Facebook Live. So
afternoon time.
Yeah, afternoon time. So any questions that you have about the doctrine of the Trinity, that's a good time for you to ask them. So
cool. So with that said, I guess we'll see you next year.
See you next year.
Cool.